Welcome to Techstination. Joining us is Alan Colberg. He's CEO at Assurant. Thank you for joining us, Alan.
Fred, thank you for having us.
You've got an interesting report just out, but first, give folks a little background about Assurant.
Yeah, so Assurant is much more than an insurance company. We do things that aren't done by traditional insurance companies, so we've elected to focus really around major consumer purchases. Those purchases range from buying a house to renting something to buying an Internet of Things device like a cell phone to buying a car to planning your funeral. And for those major consumer purchases, we not only provide the traditional protection, think a loss, theft, or breakdown, we also really provide a lot of products and services that support the usage and the consumer experience. Things like premium tech support when things don't work properly and they can't get their devices to talk to each other, or we have an onboard diagnostic tool that sits on 20 million cell phones now that help improve the user experience. So we're really focused on consumers are buying something expensive, they want it to work, and that's really our business.
And the report that you're just out with at the Consumer Electronics Show is called the Connected Now Study. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that's right. We do regular consumer surveys to understand kind of trends and what's happening in the way consumers buy and use various things that matter to them. And we started about 2 years ago now, 2017, we did our first really big study on connectivity for the consumer. And we refreshed that early this year, or right now, for the upcoming CES, to see kind of what's been changing and are consumers becoming more connected? If so, what's in their way? What do they like? What don't they like? And that was really the genesis of our doing the research, which allows us to then drive into our innovation as we develop, new products and services to help the consumer stay connected at all times if they want to stay connected.
So what'd you find?
We found a couple interesting things, at least interesting to me. If you look at the U.S., which is where we focus this research this time, they're really, think of it as two ends of a barbell. There are consumers who are very tech savvy, and those consumers continue to buy more and more connected devices. So they have not one, not two, many of them have 10 or 15 different things that are connected together. And they have one set of issues and challenges that are very different from the other end of the consumer group. There's another group of consumers, about 40% of the population today, that only have a little over one connected device. So think of a cell phone. And they're really hesitant. They know they need to get connected, that group of consumers, but they're really hesitant to take the plunge because it's overwhelming, the complexity of how these things work together. So it's interesting to us that you've got these two different extremes of consumers who are very tech savvy, and they then worry about things like getting hacked. And you saw some of the news even in the last couple of days about Internet of Things being hacked. And then you've got this big group of consumers that isn't tech savvy at all, but knows they need to be, but are afraid to take the step. So that allows us to really think about how do we bring solutions that enable the consumers to take the plunge and go deeper into using connected devices, which really all the research we've done says when people use connected devices and they work, which is a big if, they're very happy. They really improve people's life experience if the connected devices are used and are working properly.
Well, when people buy into the idea of a connected home with smart speakers, whether it's from Amazon or Google or Apple, it really can change an entire household. But at the same time, it does raise some of these other concerns. So how does a company like Assurant help address concerns?
Yeah, we do it a couple of ways. So, we define success for us and for our clients is that the consumer bought the device, whatever it is, and then they used it and they got the value they expected out of it, all right, so that it works, it connects to the other things. And one of the ways that we've been really investing heavily the last couple of years is building out our capability around what we call premium tech support, which is, the ability to create a single call resolution when a consumer can't get, the thermostat they bought to work with the speaker they bought, to work with their cell phone, to work with their Wi-Fi router. And, we've now built the real capability that we've started to roll out to our clients over the last year or two, that we will take care of making sure consumers are able to use the devices they purchased, because otherwise they're not going to use it. That's not a good outcome for our clients or for the consumer. So that's one example. Maybe Fred, I'll give you another, and then we can go deeper on whichever you find interesting. The other thing we did a few years ago, and we've now really rolled it out, is we built a technology called Pocket Geek, which is an onboard diagnostic that sits on the cell phone and provides kind of real-time monitoring and alerts to the consumer to improve their user experience. So it'll do things like, warn you that you are degrading your battery because you're not charging it properly, and here's what you need to do to address that. Or you've just downloaded an app that's going to interact poorly with other apps on your phone and slow down and really frustrate your usage experience. And that's now on, I think, close to 20 million cell phones of our installed base. So we're really trying to, still provide the traditional comfort of, hey, if you lose it or it breaks, we'll be there to protect it. But as importantly, we're trying to make sure the consumer has a good experience and uses what they bought and continues to use what they bought.
Tell us about pricing for these services. What should consumers know?
Well, they tend to be bundled into what they're buying. So if they're going to one of our partners, could be a cell phone carrier, it could be a retailer, and they're buying our protection bundle, which will cost $10 or $15 a month. Not only does it provide protection, i.e. if you lose it or break it, it also provides these additional services if you choose to buy the bundle that has that will really make sure you're able to stay up and running as a consumer.
And carriers are talking these days a lot about 5G and what that might mean for the way we live our lives. I guess that will change the numbers of devices and the kinds of devices that are connected as well, when you'll be playing a role in that.
Yeah, no, I think, we're excited about 5G. Think about for society, the benefits that, getting rid of latency and the communications, all sorts of things are possible with 5G, assuming it, plays out as people expect. And for us, it even raises the importance of keeping the consumer connected and being able to function. It will also probably create a wave of handset sales at some point, which will be good for everybody in the market as well. So, how quickly consumers will adopt it. Consumers often surprise people with their pace or lack of pace in adopting. So I'd be hesitant to guess how quickly 5G comes to pass, but I think it's exciting, and we're preparing so we can support our clients and consumers as 5G really takes hold.
Interesting. Where can people go to get more information about Assurant and the services that you offer, and maybe a little about this report?
Yeah, so on Assurant itself, if they go to our homepage, which is Assurant, ASSURANT.com, they'll see a wealth of information about the different things that we do. And I'm sure this study will be up there and linked to it at some point. I don't know. I'm looking at Linda, my head of communications, but I'm sure it'll be up and linked so people can go, once this is out, read the full study to the extent they're interested.
Interesting stuff. And any guess as to how much, maybe percentage-wise or numbers of devices, we're going to see ownership of connected devices increase in this year?
Yeah, I'd hesitate to put a number on it. What's interesting in our study is people really want to buy the connected devices. Even those consumers today that aren't really users of it, they want to buy it. And the issue is they're afraid to take the plunge. They're hesitant. And so, one of the pieces of research we did is what would increase your likelihood to go ahead and buy. And, you'll see it when you see the full report. But it's things like if there was comfort that I'll be protected if it breaks. That's a significant inducement to buy. That I'll be able to get help if it doesn't work, which is probably the biggest fear people have, is not that it's going to break, but that they won't be able to get it to work. And one of the things that we've done on that regard, a couple of years ago, we started to build out what we call the connected home within Assurant. And so we've got in our facility in Duluth, Georgia, which is a suburb of Atlanta, we've built out several connected houses effectively with every device you can imagine. And then we basically put them to their test and figure out how they interact with each other. And then we train all of our employees who do the customer care how to make these different things work together. And so it's really an interesting, it's a fascinating place to go visit and, see all the different devices. And it's how we train the people who are on the phone. And, we continue to grow that capability heavily because it really is when I look at the barriers to buying the next connected device, it really is, I'm not going to be able to make it work.
and really a challenge because there's so many new devices coming out all the time.
No, you're absolutely right. One of the things we're working on is also helping the consumer who's bought one of our bundles determine what next to buy. So providing tools that we're beginning to build out into our product offering that helps guide customers what is right for you given what you want to do. And so that's a real challenge for consumers because, as you point out, you go to CES, you really see it. There is a plethora of new things. And how do you make sense of that as a consumer? So we're trying to build that into some of our customer care is, hey, I'm interested in making a connected home now. What should I do? They can call as part of their tech support, and we'll help walk through, okay, what are you trying to accomplish? Here's how you might think about doing it.
Very interesting. Again, it's the Connected Now report from Assurant. Alan Colberg, thanks for taking the time with us.
Fred, thank you, and really appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you hopefully at CES.
Now this. How many companies out there have continued to innovate when it comes to building a better radio? I'm Fred Fishkin, host of Techstination, and I'm here to tell you about the new CC Skywave SSB radio from the wonderful people at C. Crane. Bob and his crew really love radio, and it shows in this new compact model that is packed with features. Beyond great AM and FM reception and sound, you can tune into shortwave signals from around the world. Listen to ham radio operators, aviation, and more. It's the radio you'll turn to every day and in emergencies. It will run for nearly 3 days on just 2 AA batteries. Pair the sleep timer with the new Soft Speaker 3, and you've got the perfect radio for your nightstand. Of course, it can wake you up too. Click on C. Crane at Techstination.com and put in the code Techstination for a free flashlight with your order. They love radio, and you'll love C. Crane.